Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, Brian Scalabrine, but not just Brian Scalabrine, a lot of other people, man. There's a lot of other legends that spoke on this topic I'm going to speak on today, which is basically defense in the NBA and how it really doesn't exist anymore, and how we are rewarding teams and players for just being one-sided players and one-sided type teams and stuff like that. And we're just rewarding them and crowning them as greats and sometimes legends, and comparing them to legends that was two-way players that played both sides. So we're going to talk about that because Scalabrini said something on Kevin Garnett's podcast that was like one of the best things I heard a former player even say, and I'm glad he said it, and it's going to bring up a good conversation for us to have, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section on what y'all think about this. But before I even play what he said, man, make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. If you're watching us from Facebook, head over to YouTube, give us a sub there, hit the thumbs up on your way in, and leave a comment on your way out. So without further ado, let's take a listen to what Brian Scalabrine had to say on Kevin Garnett's podcast.
The things I don't like about the NBA is when we anoint teams and players that aren't two-way players. So I like two-way players. And I think a lot of that has to do with, so my career was, Jersey, Celtics, Bulls. And the best player was Kidd, you, Rose. You guys took so much pride defensively. So I just know the league like that. I don't like it when guys don't take pride on that side of the ball. I think it's kind of embarrassing to anoint people stars, superstars, or guys that we say they're future MVPs if they ain't playing both sides of the ball. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. When we talk about MVP and stuff like that, we only talk about offense. We don't talk about the defensive side. So that's the only thing I don't like about the NBA now. But I do love the pace, the space, the spacing. I do like the beautiful game that it is. I just don't like when we anoint stars without defense.
Man, he said a mouthful. He said it's embarrassing to anoint a player or a person that only plays one side of the ball, only takes pride in one side of the ball, and for the most part, most of these players, he didn't say any names, but we know who he's talking about. He's talking about the Westbrooks, the Hardens, and I don't want to get on Westbrook too much because Westbrook is a very capable defender. Right. If you remember what he did in the Phoenix series when he showed up to the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George, and how he defended in that series, great defender. I seen him get lit up before by Dame Lillard, but it's Dame. I seen him get lit up a little bit by Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell. But that was at a time where he was playing that system where I'm taking 30 shots a game and I'm assisting on 85% of the assists for the entire offense. When you play that style, man, it just you got to be a robot to be able to lock in on defense and play all the primary positions on offense. It's just a weird. So we've had some stretches and some years where Westbrook looked like he was a bad defender, but he's got all the attributes you need to be a good defender. He's got more tools physically than what Gary Payton had, and Gary Payton was a great defender. They both were in shape. They both fast. They both strong. They both got size. They both athletic. Westbrook can be a really good defender. So I don't want to harp on him that much, but I do want to mention the fact that he did go stretches while he was at OKC where he was not playing good defense at all, right? But Westbrook, Harden, Luka, Jokic, those guys are playing very minimal defense, almost zero defense, especially in Luka's case, right? So it's interesting when he said it's embarrassing to anoint those guys because those are the very guys that are winning MVPs and is constantly in the MVP discussion before the season starts, and who we want to win the MVP and who we anoint and who we say is great and who's at the top of all the top 100 lists and stuff like that. And we're saying that this is the best we got to offer. Where if someone came and just for the first time stumbled across basketball and said, it's the first time I've seen this sport, teach me about it, right? Tell me who your best players is in this sport so I can study them. And we give them a player or a DVD of a player like Luka who's playing no defense, right? So when you think of it that way, if basketball, if you're the best basketball player, basketball consists of offense and defense. It consists of what you have to do to be in shape to play the game. It consists of what you got to do to be mentally prepared to play the game. You got to have you got to be endure. You got to be able to have endurance, right? All of those things you got to have nuances, right? So, and then when you break it down even below the surface and off on offense, there's what you do when you got the ball and what you do when you don't have the ball, right? On defense, you know, it's broken down how you guard the ball and how you guard off the ball. All of those things, right? So when you break all of those things down like that, what we know of Luka is he's phenomenal with the ball, not so phenomenal without the ball. And then he's not so phenomenal on defense. And then he's not so phenomenal at being in shape, not so phenomenal at being someone with a lot of endurance. And you start breaking all that down, you're like, man, so he's only good at making plays when he has the ball, and that's it. No defense, no nothing. And this is the best. That's not basketball he's playing. He's playing offense. You get me? He's like a special team player in football. I do one thing and that's it. I kick and then I go sit down. That's what he does. He plays offense when he has the ball. When he don't have the ball, he stands there. On defense, he stands there. And then he go run and get rebounds. Right? So that's not basketball. Basketball, you have to do all the things that make basketball to be the best basketball player. Luka is the best. You can say he's one of the best offensive players, but not even if you can't do anything without the ball. Luka is one of the best. I don't know. He's one of the best person. He's one of the best stat getters. I say that he's like Harden was in Houston. He's a stat getter, offensive stats. But when you say the best basketball player, that includes everything. It's all inclusive. It's everything. And when you start grading all the way across the board with everything that consists of basketball, he's getting F's in a lot of things, right? But he's got an A+ in that one thing that gets him all the stats, right? So I thought that was interesting that he would bring it up. I'm glad he brought it up. He said, and it's the same thing I've been saying since I started this channel. Two-way players are the best players. You have to be playing both sides of the ball. You don't have to always be a great defender, but you got to at least be a good one. I'll even accept average. Like when you look at it, great defenders, you're thinking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, Hakeem Olajuwon, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Kawhi Leonard. Those are great defenders. Joel Embiid. Kobe Bryant. Those are great defenders. Gary Payton, great. Jason Kidd, great. Those are great defenders. The greats we had cared on both ends. They cared about defense. They cared about being in shape. When you look at Olajuwon and Antetokounmpo and Scotty and Michael and Rodman, they were always cut up. Alonzo Mourning, always in great shape, always cut up. The only superstar back then that just didn't really care a lot about his body was Charles Barkley. But even when he won MVP and had his best season, the first year he showed up at Phoenix, even he was in great shape. Really good. That was the best shape he was ever in. But you got to think those guys are always in tip-top shape. They're always the most endure players. They're always the most conditioned, the best conditioned players. They're always in great shape physically. Dwight Howard was always in great shape, great defender. Like that's step number one. That's step number one. If you want to be elite, be in the elite shape. Like you want to when you consider one of the best players, you want to be better than the rest at everything. And that starts with being in shape. That starts with my endurance. That starts with my conditioning. Right? Those are things that Luka is not taking serious enough. It's not taking the defensive end serious. And we know who he's talking about when he said that, right? So I want to go through a couple of things. Coach Charles Oakley spoke on this as well. You know, and this was a couple of years ago he spoke on this. So I'm gonna play what Charles Oakley said as well. When it comes to the NBA and defense.
You've been critical of the NBA and how some people play, not the league, but that players are not as aggressive as they were in the past. You're not alone in saying that. How do you think they should change it?
I think everything can change in life was what's going on with the pandemic. I think the league made a change because it went more global, European. So when I played back in the 80s and 90s, people always talk about the glory days, but you might have had 2% European players. Now you got 33%. So the money value is global. So that's why they had to change the league for the players who were not physical to come in the game, guys who like to shoot threes. So now the game is a 3-point game.
So you hear what he's talking about. He's breaking down on why the NBA just took the defense out of the equation as far as what type of entertainment they wanted to provide to the world by way of basketball, right? So we had a brand of basketball that needed to be cleaned up. If you look at the 70s, this was if you go by that timeline, this was I think ABA might have had just merged, Dr. J and all that stuff. They came to the NBA, and you get these exciting players, and the NBA is probably trying to start being a profitable business where they're making money and and stuff like that, right? Then they get superstars like Magic and Bird, which really showed the NBA that they can make money, and they moved into an era where we can profit, we can do some things, right? We're above water right now. Magic and Bird saved the NBA, but the style of play was very physical. There was a lot of fights. It was ugly to look at. It was so bad that they couldn't even show live games because the things that might happen during a live game that might scare away sponsors and TV networks. It might be a fight. It might be, it might look like a brawl, a street fight. It was pretty bad. So David Stern had to come in and clean it up. And then, the league was doing that thing in the 80s, and the Bad Boy Pistons, became a mainstay. And they had a style of basketball that was pretty rough and pretty tough. And Michael Jordan, who was this new guy that was, that came in the league, that was probably the best player in the league, he started feeling the brunt of he got the short end of the stick when it came to that Piston Bulls matchup, right? And I think David Stern looked at them and was like, here it is, my best player, my superstar, who I want to showcase, but I can't showcase them and market them like I want to because they're playing prison ball. So he cleaned up the rules, rightfully so, because some of the things that they was doing to guard Michael Jordan was outside of the rules of basketball. A foul is a foul, right? And fouling someone that's a non-basketball player where I'm not even going for the ball, I could hurt this player. That need to be cleaned up out of the game. So the cleaning up that they did then, Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer, they complained about it because they said Michael Jordan ran to the commissioner to cry about the way they was guarding him and fouling him. But hey, if it was illegal and you trying to hurt me, yeah, I go snitch too. Just play basketball. So David Stern cleaned that part up. and they got to just playing basketball, but it was still a physical style of basketball, right? But everybody was surviving. Nobody was trying to really hurt anybody. It was no more of that bad boy pissing stuff. And then Michael Jordan went and got 6 rings. Hakeem got 2, and so on and so forth, right? So I say all that to say this: the cleaning up that they did in the 70s and 80s to get the type of basketball we got in the 90s nothing was wrong with it. The early 2000s, nothing was wrong with that. But as far as financially, right, I think the 90s and the early 2000s was the golden age of basketball in the NBA. Everything before that was it was a buildup. It was trying to get it better, and you was climbing that mountain, and in the 90s you reached that mountaintop, and okay, let's sustain this for as long as we want to, but they always want to keep going higher and higher, especially as far as finances. And I think the 90s and 2000s, they seen an opportunity where they could appeal to more of an audience, because you already got basketball lovers loving you, but how do we get non-basketball lovers watching our sport? How do you get someone who didn't play basketball? How do you get a female? How do you get an old lady? How do you get a non-athlete? How do you get a nerd? How do you get all these people to watch your sport? Right? Well, you got to change it and make it more pleasing to them. Basketball is already going to be pleasing to a basketball lover, so you're never going to lose that audience. But you don't want to just stay there. You want more, right? How do you get a Laker game with the whole front row full of Hollywood actors and actresses? How you get Jack Nicklaus there, the Kardashians, the Jada Pinkett's, the Will Smiths? How you get that front row? How you get Rob Lowe? How you get all these? They're not athletes. How did you get them at the game, right? So you got to make it exciting. And what's exciting? They're not going to be sitting there watching the game and be like, "Oh man, look at how Patrick Ewing pivoted in the post and threw that jump hook," or "Look how hard it was when they threw that ball in the post. They were fighting for position." I like the way he drop step and up and down. Like, they're not going to be falling in love with that. But threes and dunks, that's what they're going to be excited about, because everybody can look at a dunk and get excited about, "Oh, that looks great. He's flying in the air. That looks exciting. Oh, he's shooting that 3 from 2 steps behind the 3-point line. That's exciting." Those things excite non-basketball lovers, non-basketball players, people who probably wasn't good enough to make their not even middle school team, more or less high school or college, right? So those people who didn't play sports, that's not even athletic, right? Who probably didn't even have an athletic friend in high school, right? I want to appeal to that guy because they got money too. Their money is green as well. How do I get him here? Excitement, right? So that's what Charles Oakley is talking about. He's talking about they took defense out of the game so we can get more dunks and threes, and they adopted a European style of basketball to open the paint wide open, right? And mind you, remember what I said earlier, you're taking elements out of basketball that makes it not basketball anymore, right? What we're watching in the 90s and the early 2000s, that was basketball, because you had every piece of basketball that exists. You was able to see that. You were able to see great defense, hard-nosed defense. You were able to see great shot making, because if you got great defense and you got somebody like Kobe still making shots, you seen some good shot making. You was able to see a heavy dose of post play. So people like Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaq and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson, Karl Malone, we seen them get the ball in the post and make things happen. Rick Smits, Yao Ming. We seen stuff like that. You got to see dunks. Vince Carter was getting plenty of dunks in the game. It just everyone wasn't getting dunks. It was just the some of the best dunkers getting dunks. Everybody couldn't get them because everybody couldn't get to the rim like that on those defenses, right? right? You got to see some high flying or some high scoring games, and then others you sing low scoring games because the defense was so good. Detroit Pistons, like even with the NFL, they had a period where teams were scoring a lot of points, but Pittsburgh and Baltimore, that rivalry, we knew every time we watched that game it was going to be low scoring, a lot of hard hitting, a lot of defense, and we liked it, right? So same thing with basketball. Detroit played a style of basketball. You wouldn't go score a lot of points, right? You got to see shot blocking, we got to see ball handling, right? We got to see all those things, right? But when you change the game purposely to take defense out, and of course you can't take it completely out, but if you were seeing equal amount of defense and equal amount of offense in the 90s and 2000s, right? And they changed the settings to where it was like, okay, we see more offense, which automatically takes the defense down. Or you take the defense down because I want to see more offense, more dunks, more layups, more threes. So we getting less defense, then you getting less post play, you getting less mid-range, because all I want to see is things at the rim and the threes and the fast breaks. The mid-range, not so much. Everything's spread out. Just high screen and roll, get to the rim, or a kick out to a shooter. So if you take post play out, you take defense out, you take the mid-range out, and you take defense out, you're not watching basketball, you're watching offense. Like you're like the NBA is selling us they're selling us entertainment in the form of come watch us play offense. Not basketball, it's offense. And it's a slight change, almost like when KFC stopped putting real chicken in the chicken, and they changed their name from Kentucky Fried Chicken to just KFC. Still, you think it's still the same if you don't really pay attention, but if you think about it, at some point when it used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken, you can go look right now, you're never going to see the word chicken anywhere on their logo or anywhere on their merchandise. It's just KFC now. So without us knowing it, we might not even be eating chicken anymore, right? Same thing with the NBA. We took defense out. You think you're still watching basketball, but nah, you're just watching offense. Just like when you watch an all-star game. We know ain't no defense gonna be in the all-star game. We know ain't nobody throwing the ball in the post in the all-star game. We know ain't nobody shooting no mid-range in the all-star game. It's gonna be threes that is exciting, and everyone's trying to get a dunk in traffic or on the fast break. So it's dunks, threes, layups, alley-oops, and dribbling exhibitions. We're here to watch offense. We're not here to watch defense. That's what the all-star game is. And that's what the real games has turned into. We're here to watch offense. We don't care nothing about that defense. Basketball lovers and basketball purists do. But people who aren't basketball purists, it's just there for entertainment. They don't care they don't care about a 7-footer getting the ball in the post. Don't want to see it. Don't want to see a jump hook. None of that. Right? So that's Oakley's thought. But let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Is the high scoring working? Is speeding the game up? I asked this with a follow-up because I want to know, will there ever be a time in our lives where the hand check comes back? Is that going? Is this kind of the wave in which we're going now?
I'll answer it coming from the fan in me, which is, and maybe data comes into play here because I can look at television ratings and other measures of interest. There was a point, I believe, probably in around the late 90s when the game became too physical. And I think we lost some of
For our viewers, you mean?
Yeah, and I think for our fans, from the aesthetic enjoyment of the game, where it de-emphasized the particular skill a player had and maybe weighted too heavily physicality, where a big, strong player could come in and prevent a incredibly skilled player from doing those kinds of things. I think of, not that he's a small guy, but a smaller player like Steph Curry can do on the floor. I think that when you think of some of his ability to shoot, his ability to move through the paint, that if guys could just bang him and knock him to the ground, as that was once the case in the league.
Right.
I don't think that would be a better brand of basketball. I also think we have to find the right balance, because I know when I sit in the stands or talk to friends sometime, they want to bring back, and we've tried to bring back a little bit more of the physicality. Like, I think people like to see hard defense. I mean, it goes a little bit before to what you and I are talking about, like touch and feel. Like, I don't think either people like that idea that guys can go through unscathed and like you're protecting your star players. And in fact, you know, we made some changes this season where sort of, I don't know, you know, the unnatural basketball moves, you know what I'm referring to, and where those were being, players were gaming the system in a way, and they, brilliant players playing by the rules, had found ways where those were becoming defensive fouls. So we reset this year, which is something you got to do in the offseason. You don't want to change mid-course, but we made it clear, those players, that that's no longer going to be a foul. And of course, because they're the greatest players, they adjust and they find other ways to score.
Huge word salad toward the end. He kind of gave the answer away at the beginning and in the middle, but toward the end it just got into a whole bunch of mess. He was trying to deflect and all that stuff. But now you putting two and two together. If you thought Oakley was making stuff up when he said the NBA decided to go a different route with what type of basketball they wanted to present, what type of form of entertainment they want to present, and it was based on the fact that they were bringing in more European players. They was adopting more of a European style of basketball. And if you can remember, we've always had European wings and European big men that have came in the league that was highly skilled basketball players. I don't know if you remember, Boston Celtics had a guy named Dino Radja, played power forward, highly skilled basketball player, very good in the post. You might want to go check out some of his highlights. He was a good ball player. Tony Kukoc was like one of the best European players in Europe, and I think he came from Croatia. And the Bulls got him over here. And you think before the Bulls even got him, when they found out that Jerry Krause was bringing Kukoc over there, Pippen and Michael Jordan knew the writing was on the wall that they was trying to replace Pippen. So they took it personal when they played him in the Olympics. They D'd him up, picked him up full court. Tony Kukoc couldn't even get a shot off. That style of NBA dog having in you and getting up in somebody's grill and hand checking them and you know and playing them full court and all that stuff. Tony Kukoc, he's never felt that type of pressure before, and that was the case for most European basketball players when they came to the NBA. They came over there and felt a style of physical play that they weren't used to, and they would shy away from. Like not only they weren't used to it, they mentally kind of shut down once they felt it. Like, you know, for you to come over here and have all these skills in basketball, I'm a 6'11" guy that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and post up. You get what I'm saying? I can do all these things on offense, but I can't guard a phone booth. I can't guard this mic stand. I can't defend. I'm skilled, but I can't defend. So I'm getting embarrassed when I try to guard somebody like Pippen and Michael Jordan one-on-one. They're blowing by me. I can't move my feet fast enough, right? But not only are you a liability on defense, you also getting embarrassed because these guys are coming and elbowing you and pushing you down low. People like Garnett talking about your mama in your ear, saying all kinds of crazy things to you, and you get intimidated. So not only you get bullied physically on both ends of the floor, you get you meet an ankle bully like Baron Davis and he take your ankles. Then you go down low and you meet a guy like Karl Malone or Garnett or Weber, and they just pushing you out of the paint saying you can't come down there, right? And then they talking to you crazy, and you meet that type of guy, and then oh man, this is a whole different world. And this guy that was the best player in Europe comes over to the NBA and he gets intimidated and bullied, and he can't even play that game no more. He got to learn how to take some 2 or 3 years to even adjust to it. And then by that time, a lot of players will come over there and then go back to Europe and be like, man, I can't take it no more. Rudy Fernandez, great ball player, came over, played for Portland a little bit, bounced around to another team, went back to where he came from. So I can't handle it. I don't know why he left, but that happens, right? But my point is, in the 90s and the early 2000s, we've always had people that was as skilled of big man as Jokic is right now. Arvydas Sabonis was that good and that skilled. Vlade Divac was that skilled. Dino Roger was that skilled. Tony Kukoc was that skilled. And as far as the wings, like Luka, Pedro was that skilled. I don't think he had the point guard skills that Luka has. But everything else, the shooting was even more at a better level than Luka. But everything else, the passing, the skill set, the shooting, the post play, Pedro had all of that. Turkoglu had all of that, plus the point guard skills. Turkoglu had all that. Even before Turkoglu and Stojakovic, there was dragging Petrovic. He was that good, right? So we've always had skilled big men from Europe and skilled wing players from Europe. However, when they came over here, they got bullied and they disappeared. And what Charles Oakley is saying and what Adam Silver is saying is they don't think that was fair for a guy with that much skill to come over and not be able to show it because some physical guy punked him on the basketball court. So they changed the rules to a point where a bully couldn't bully anymore, and they had to play their game. So they made it unfair for the bully to handicap them and make offense and skilled players and smaller players be able to survive. And he mentioned Steph Curry. I'm going to tell you somebody who was just as good as Steph Curry, and I'm not even exaggerating. As a shooter, as a point guard, someone that can shoot off the bounce, someone who can shoot coming off of screens, someone who can catch and shoot, someone who had range, someone who was a 50, 40, 90 guy, someone who could handle the ball, all of the above, who had to play in the 90s era, who was the best player on his team and led a team that rivaled the Chicago Bulls. And I'm talking about Mark Price. He was as good as Steph Curry. However, he played in the bully world, and someone his size coming across the middle was going to get taxed. And what Adam Silver is saying is it's unfair for a guy like Steph Curry to have all those skills and not be able to showcase it because some bully that's bigger than him can bully him around. So if you have a guy like Michael Jordan that jumps on on Mark Price in the 90s and say, I got him, I guard Mark Price, and take him out of the game, what Adam Silver has done is change the rules where you can't do that anymore. I'm going to help the little guy. The rules favor him. You can't use your size advantage against him on defense. You have to give him freedom to run around in the paint, and you can't tax him. That's what the NBA is. So what you're seeing now with all these European stars and Jokic killing and Luka killing and all that stuff, only thing that would have happened if Jokic wanted to get loose like this in the 90s, somebody like Shaq or whoever would have really took it to him. The same way Shaq took it to Yao Ming. Yao Ming was skilled. Yao Ming had a jump shot. Yao Ming had a turnaround. Yao Ming had a fadeaway. He could hit his free throws. He could shoot threes. He could shoot the jump shot. He had a nice hook in the post, up and under. And he was about 7'7", very tall. But Shaq came and said, I'm going to bully you. Shaq tried to embarrass him. You can't do that anymore. You can't use your toughness and your strength and your physicality to intimidate guys and do it that way. The whistle is on their side. Right? That's what Adam Silver is saying. He said it with his own mouth. That's what Charles Oakley was describing. And why are they doing it? Because They think it's going to sell more tickets. Adam Silver said he don't think that was the best brand of basketball when someone can come up and impose their will on a skilled guy because he's bigger and stronger than him. I don't think that's good basketball where a big guy that's guarding a small guy can impose his will on him. I would rather the skilled guy put him on an island and make him have to defend in space some smaller guy that's faster and quicker and has a lot of skill. I'd rather you see that. That's more entertaining. So they're selling entertainment, not basketball. The version of basketball we're watching now is for profit, first, second, and third. Providing a pure basketball experience is not what they're selling us. They're selling us entertainment. You want to see threes, you want to see skill, you want to see dunks. I'm gonna change the rules. I'm gonna instruct my referees to call the game a certain way, and that's what you're gonna get. And you're gonna give me your money, and we're gonna have a lot of ratings, and the network's gonna give me their money as well. So for the guys who judge basketball players and they say, okay, this guy's better than this guy and this guy's better than that guy, and the only reference they're using is this WWE style of basketball we're watching, you can't use that as just your only reference. You have to have something a little bit better than that, because what we're seeing now is a different brand of basketball, and some guys have an advantage and some guys are fighting the uphill battle. So you have to have a really good and trained eye to look at a player and judge them and say, okay, I think that he's this or that. And that's why when you hear people like Kenyon Martin saying, nah, Kyrie Irving is actually better than Luka, because they know that they have changed rules to make a guy like Luka be able to exist in the NBA and succeed. A guy like Jokic, right? But Kyrie, he could go to the Rucker and survive. There's not NBA rules, and there's not no NBA rules at the Rucker, not at the Drew League, not at the Big Three. Kyrie can go anywhere on earth and be Kyrie Irving. But Luka need NBA rules to average 30 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. He can do that at the NBA. He hasn't done that nowhere else. He said it's easy to score in the NBA. How is it possible that a league that used to have the best European come over here and not even be an all-star and have a guy like McDyess just bully him? How is it now, 10, 15 years later, we can have a guy come over here and say, oh, it's easy to score over here. It's harder to score in the Euro League. It's easy to score in the NBA. Just think about that. It's easy to score in the NBA. That's what they're saying. It's hard in the European League. How did the tables turn? How did that flip-flop? Right? I'm gonna play for you just an average fan. This podcast is called Player's Choice. You know, so I give them the credit. Y'all can go check them out. You know, it's a big podcast, but listen to how this type of fan gets excited by what they see on the NBA court as a result of how they changed the rules.
We talking about the mastery of Adam Silver. Adam Silver knew, moving away from David Stern, what's going to sell tickets? What's going to increase viewership? People want to see buckets, man. People want to see scoring. Prime example with Donovan Mitchell going for 71 last night. We ain't even talking about the fact that DeMar DeRozan had 44. That goes right over everybody's head.
And Clay had 54.
He had 54 last night.
Luka had like nearly a 37-point triple-double. It's
not
like
37, Lo. Take it a step further than that. He almost went 40. I think he went 39, 12, and 11.
Yeah.
Right? We have 5 guys last night go 40 or better. 5 of them last night go 40 or better. So with that being said, I mean, we living in a different era.
And they liked it. this was a couple of years ago. This wasn't last year. This was 2 years ago, I think. It might have been last year, but matter of fact, it was last year. We had Donovan score 70. I want to say that, and like you said, it was 4 or 5 players in one night that went 40 or better, and one of them was a 40-point triple-double in Luka's case. You had a DeRozan that was just going off, but if I remember correctly, a week before that, or a couple of days after that, somebody else went for 70. Can't remember who it was though. After Donovan, I think Donovan might have did it second. Somebody did it before him. A couple of guys went for 70, and they like that, and they know for a fact the reason why a player that's at an all-star level, like going for 70, was reserved for superstars like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain. Right. But now just a regular all-star can get 70. Just a regular all-star can get 70. And they know it's because of the rule change. They know it's allowing for more scoring. They even said it. Adam Silver has created this environment that's conducive for players to go out and go get 50, 40, 60, 70. Right? Like and they're saying we like that. We want to see buckets. They don't want to see defense. They don't want to see basketball, because basketball has defense in it. Basketball has post play in it. Basketball has mid range in it. Basketball has ball movement and player movement on offense. That's what basketball is. And they're okay with it. That's the average fan right there. That's how they think. Those are the fans that they bought to the sport after the rule change. We need to get guys who can care less about actual pure basketball. We need to get these guys that just want to see buckets. How do we get those? How do we get them? Change the rules. Right? And everybody knows it. But back to the original person when I started this video, Scalabrine. If you're not a two-way player, you're not one of the best. Right? You just one of the best stat getters. And that's okay too. You can be a good stat getter. Luka is a good stat getter. He's good at getting stats. But he's not a whole basketball player. At least that's not what he's showing us right now. He could be. I think he got the skill set to be. But that's not what he's showing us. He's not showing us a total basketball player. That's not what we're getting with him. And it's I think, like Scalabrine said, we're not talking about it enough. And I think like Garnett alluded to, are we ever going to go back to bringing defense back to the game? Are we ever going to go back to the hand check? Like, can we get some real defense? And Adam Silver was like, well, the game in the 90s got too physical. How did it get too physical in the 90s when the 70s and 80s was when it was really bad? And y'all cleaned it up in the 90s. That was a good brand of basketball in the 90s. How was it too physical? It was not too physical in the 90s. That was the best brand of basketball we've had. It had enough entertainment, but it was natural, pure entertainment. We didn't force a lot of it. Most of it was already, people know how to be showmanship or know how to be showmen. So that was the best blend of entertainment and pure basketball that we got, and we had it for a while out up to the early 2000s, and then it started separating to where we was getting more induced entertainment, and then we started changing rules to even get more entertainment. Now it's so close to WWE, it's ridiculous. It's just we want drama, we want entertainment, and we'll throw a little basketball in there every now and then. You get what I'm saying? So that's all I got, man. That's all I got, man. I think it's all down here from here. I think the 60, from the beginning of when basketball started, everything was moving up and up and up and up. And I think we got to the mountaintop in the 90s and the early 2000s. And now we're on the other end of the mountain coming down. I think the NBA unless they make a change. And unfortunately, that change is probably going to have to be that you revert back to some of the old rules, because I think it's going downhill. It definitely is. Like, this is almost not even basketball anymore if you can't play defense, right? And players are not even interested in playing defense, and there's no pressure on them because we're rewarding them for not playing defense. We're rewarding them for going out there and just getting anything close to a triple double. It don't matter how many times you get cooked on defense. It don't matter how bad you are on defense. It don't matter how many shots you take to get your 30 points. And it don't matter how ball dominant you are to get your 10 assists. It don't matter how much you sag off on defense and stand in the corner guarding someone that is not even part of the offense, and you don't even have to box that person out, because when the shot go up from the 3-point line, all you got to do is run to the paint. Your teammates are boxing out. Of course, the guy that was guarding the shooter was contesting the shot, so that's one person out of the rebound range. Everything is high screen and roll, so the big man has went up there to set the screen, so that means the big man that was guarding him is out of the paint at the top of the key. So you got two of your teammates that's out of the paint. One is defending the jump shot or the 3-point shot, and the biggest guy on the court is up there defending the screen, right? And there's only two other people other than you, and those two people are boxing out. And since you're not a good defender, and I'm talking about Luka, you standing in the corner when the shot go up, and you don't even have to box your man out. Everybody else the other two guys are boxing their man out. All you got to do is run into the paint and grab that rebound. And that's how you get your 10 rebounds. You take 25 to 30 shots to get your 30 points. You run every single play on offense. That's how you get your assists. And you sag off in the corner on defense, and that's how you get your rebounds. And as long as you get anything close to a triple-double, the only thing the commentators and the mainstream media is going to say, look at his stats, he almost had a triple-double. They're not even going to talk about the defensive end. They're not even going to talk about how you got those stats. And that's why basketball is suffering. But that's all I want to say. I already spoke too long. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.